Right now, I'm chairman of the Labor, Health, and Human Services Committee. I have a bill that reduces spending down to the 2001 level and fully defunds Obamacare. And unlike so many of these other academic bills that we have been passing to defund Obamacare, this one has to be signed into law. And so as we go into this negotiation, there's nothing more important than passing this bill. But you know what? To my great and unending frustration, the problem right now isn't with Democrats, it's with Republicans. And it is driving me crazy. I have met with the Speaker of the House, the Whip, and the Majority Leader this week about it several times saying, we've got to move this bill. This is the moment, this is the vehicle, we've got to get the job done, and getting vague promises about it. But I can tell you it's a frustrating process, and I won't quit till it's done. Another thing is NIH, National Institute of Health, and the CDC do a lot of great research. The cancer rate in America, for example, has fallen 1% a year for many years to the road. There's lots of medical miracles that are going on, and yet these institutions often err and stray from their path. $8 million study to determine if the Tea Party was receiving tobacco company money. University of Alabama, $407,000 to devise a smoke detecting pair of underwear. $2.6 million grant to teach Chinese prostitutes to drink responsibly. $5 million for a porn program that's called Sex Plus, with the idea of identifying HIV high-risk people. And then $500,000 to study why 5-year-olds can't sit still. These are what our friends do. And I'm cracking down on that and say, you know what? I want the money to go to the lab. I want you guys to cure cancer, do the great things that you have done with polio to other diseases. But, you know, we have to push hard on that. Now, my dad taught me also the value of hard work. We all had chores in the Kingston household, from emptying the trash, of course, cleaning your room, and cutting the grass. How many of you out here have ever seen a rotary motor? And I don't mean one that's run by a machine with gasoline. You are looking at the gasoline. Well, brothers and sisters, if you had that experience, you'll never forget it, right? That'll make you one tough guy. I promise you, every gumball and pine cone in North Georgia landed in our yard. You know, back in those days, everybody had a job. And I started out selling programs at the University of Georgia. Small footnote on this a minute. A guy asked me one time, I was walking in San Francisco, and he said, hey, you got change? Well, I had a pocket full of money because I had been selling programs. And he said, yeah. I said, yeah, I got change. So he said, well, come over here. Got me behind the car and beat me up with another guy and stole all the money. Now, footnote about those times versus these times is A, it made the headlines of the Athens paper. It was so unusual. B, they caught the guys and we went to court. It wasn't considered petty crime. That was about $110, $120, so it wasn't small change, but we went to court. I had to go to court and testify. And 3, the violators were prosecuted. Maybe that's what we should be doing today when people break the law. I love it. Yeah. So I want to get back to the work ethic, because, you know, I delivered sandwiches, I delivered televisions, I sold programs. How many of you remember your first job? Raise your hand. And how many of you remember and love to tell a story about your first job? And how many of you apply the same principles today in your daily life that you learned when you were 10, 12, 13, 16 years old? Raise your hand. So the question we have as a society, why are we telling generations of kids you don't have to work? There's a stigma to it. You know, when we had the food stamps bill about a month ago, I was the co-sponsor of an amendment that said if you're able-bodied and you're on food stamps, there will be a work requirement. It's not because you and I are mean-spirited Republicans, it's because you and I I know what we learned from working. And we know about the liberation that gives the individual and how unfair it is to say, for some reason, I'm capable of working, but you're not because we're going to give up on you. And I think that that's something we absolutely have to change. When I got out of school, went to work in Savannah, my job that I had for a career was selling property and casualty insurance. I became vice president of the company. I worked on commission. I was on the board of directors. I worked with small businesses. I learned very, very up close and personal that businesses do best without a government nanny state interfering with their ability to deliver goods and services, that they could do just fine without Uncle Sam as their partner. As I said earlier, I'm very proud that I have a lifetime 100% approval rating with the National Federation of Independent Businesses. Now, I know you've been sitting a while. I'm going to try to get into the home stretch. Got to talk about Mama, because clearly, without a doubt, in my heart of hearts, my mom was in the top 1% of all mothers in the entire universe, as I'm sure so many of you are as well. My mom taught me idealism, and she taught us that you have to stand up for what is right, and the numbers don't count, because to be a Republican in Clark County, Georgia, in the 1960s was not a cakewalk. We had yard signs in our yard that were torn down. We were laughed at. We were humiliated. But when I ran for the state legislature, having moved to Savannah, I was told over and again, you can run as a conservative, but you got to run as a Democrat to get something done. There were 26 Republicans in the House of Representatives when I served in the legislature. But I learned, working with people like Fred Akins, and working with people like Johnny Isaacson, and Paul Coverdale, Luther Culver, that you could get a lot done if you worked hard, knew what you were talking about, and read the bills. Tom Murphy, and I learned a lot from the mayor of Marietta, guy named Joe Mack Wilson. Can I get a little witness? Anybody remember good old local crotchety as ever Joe Mack Wilson? I was the only Republican on the Ways and Means Committee, and I voted against a tax increase one time, and the next day in the Ways and Means Committee, in this room full of very obsequious gentlemen, he turns to me and says, Republican, why did you vote against me, your committee chairman, and your committee on the House floor the other day? The room was dead silent. I was 29 years old. He was an intimidating guy. And I said, well, Mr. Chairman, you told us long ago that if we're going to vote no on the floor, that we need to do it in the committee meeting, and that we don't need to surprise you. And we had this vote in the committee, and I voted no. Therefore, it was the right thing for me to do to continue to vote no on the floor. Dead silence. He looked at me, and then he started laughing. And after that, and then he said, this guy has principle. And every Democrat in the room after that suddenly was allowed to talk to me again. But you know, Joe Mack can do that kind of thing. But I learned you have to stand on principle, and you can make things happen. You know, we've been working to deepen the harbor in Savannah, Georgia now since 1999. The Port of Savannah, the cost-benefit analysis is for $1 spent, $5.50 return. 350,000 jobs are related to the port in Savannah. When we started out, it was just a little old project in Savannah. Now, I am very happy to say that every Republican and every Democrat in the delegation support this job, support this project, and we're going to get it done. Let me say this, though. Mom also taught me deep, deep patriotism. I'm proud to serve on the Defense Committee. I'm proud to represent Moody Air Force Base, Kings Bay Naval Base, Hunter Army Airfield, and Fort Stewart. I have every branch of the military and 3 Coast Guard stations in my district. I don't ever want our military to have to fight a fair fight. I want them to have the strongest time. I want them to have the strongest tanks, the fastest airplanes, and the most accurate missiles, because I want them to beat the heck out of guys, and I want them to come home safely. We have at Fort Stewart 461 trees planted for young men and women who will never come back from Iraq or Afghanistan. I think about them, I think about going to their ceremonies and seeing their families, and I believe what Ronald Reagan said, our approach to war has to be simple. We win and you lose. Right. Let me say this, and I'll close, and Joe, if there's time, I'll answer any questions or whatever, but things that I don't ever want to do when I go to Washington. I don't ever want to forget those who sent me and what I was sent there to do. 21 years, I've never joined the club. I've come home every single weekend. Now, there are a few weekends when we have votes, but I come home. I get a healthy dose of the real world, whether it's in church, whether it's in just walking the streets, or whether it's at the Piggly Wiggly shopping. People have always come up to me and said, vote this way, vote that way, or sometimes just grabbed me by the collar and said, what were you thinking? But I think the number one thing we have to do right now is be engaged and talk to each other and work hard and never forget our mission. And that is ending excessive government, excessive spending, and ending government interference in our life. Thank you very much for letting me do this. The question is on immigration. A couple of things are very, very important. Number one, border security. 51% of illegals come in from one place. They come in from Arizona. So if you're going to tackle a problem, you got to know where the worst of it is, and that's Arizona. The reason is the fence in Arizona has holes in it for animal migration. And the antelope let the word get out. So that's where the people come in. And the other part is that the Border Patrol are constrained because it's public land and it's environmentally sensitive, and so they can't use the normal kind of enforcement. We have to have common sense, and you got to have really strict and really serious border security. The other part of it, though, is that 40% of the illegals came here legally, and then they let their papers expire. The way to stop that is to have electronic verification. Now, I don't want one more mandate on the private sector, one more mandate on business, but right now we're requiring I-9s, and E-Verify is actually a little bit faster and more accurate, and that's the way we can get into the interior enforcement. And then thirdly, we have always had guest worker programs. Programs that allow people to come in from other countries, do a specific job for a specific employer for a specific period of time, and then go home. And I think that those type guest worker programs are fine. It's just that they have to be enforced. The one thing that I'm not willing to do is grant amnesty to people who broke the law to come in here. Yeah. Immigrant and actually a refugee. His name was Nicholas Dessery. But he came to America with a sponsor and not knowing one bit of English, knowing he would never get on the welfare system. And one thing you have to have is welfare reform, because the biggest competitor right now for employers finding good workers is public assistance. And what the problem is with folks coming in is that the fear that the press doesn't ever want to have, that I think most Republicans have, is, you know, we understand we're a nation of immigrants. Nobody's debating that. It's just that people came here for opportunity and to work hard, and we want to make sure that the next generation of immigrants is here to climb the economic ladder, not to sleep on the public assistance hammer.
Congressman, when you first entered the race, the Senate race, you said that nobody was going to outflank you on the right, and I got excited. But on your FEC report, it shows that you've accepted campaign contributions from a PAC called the Moderate PAC. This is a PAC that's donated $250,000 to Democrats and 5,000 Republicans, a few Republicans such as yourself. So where my concern is, sir, is how can you be the most conservative or will be the most conservative in the future if you're already accepting contributions from a PAC such as the Modern PAC?
Well, first of all, I've never heard of that PAC. And so what I think would be very helpful to me is maybe if you could show that to me to be the case.
Yes, sir.
And if you know about that group, I mean, maybe you can share something to me, but I don't know anything about the group. I have not made any pledges to such a group, and I don't know of any discussions anyone in my office has had with such a group. And having been in Washington a while, never heard of it, so I don't know. But if they have given to me, they will be sorely disappointed. I can say that. But let's make a date because I want to follow up on that.
Yes, sir. Jack,
And one other thing, I had a guy come up to me the other day and he said, "Well, you have something on your webpage that says you stand in a certain area." I said, "What?" He said, "No, no, before we come to this weekend, I read it." Well, it turns out he actually wasn't on my webpage, he was on Wikipedia. And we Republicans need to know that anybody can go onto your Wikipedia and say all kinds of things. We have to clean up our Wikipedia page about every 3 days because people are breaking into it right now. And I know I'm out of time. You can't cancel it. I mean, it's a public figure, but people go in there and say all kinds of things. So we'll get to the bottom of this.
First, welcome back to Marietta. Real quick follow-up. The question that was asked of Phil Gringrey earlier about the NSA vote in Hampton, could you please give us, I understand you voted on the other side, so could you talk to that?
Yes, I was there when we passed the Patriot Act, and the Patriot Act was supposed to be for monitoring the bad guys and foreign nationals when they were suspected of terrorism. And if they called, say, I got a call from the Middle East, and it was a suspicious conversation, they were monitoring this guy, then what would happen is the NSA would have to come back and get a court order to start monitoring my phone calls. Because what happens is not just one person to one person, it's then the trickle down of all the other people they call. But it was always supposed to be court order, and it was never supposed to monitor my phone call to my wife saying, "Do you want me to pick up some bread on the way home?" And on the subject of metadata, sir, what you brought up, what the metadata only is not the content of the call, but the actual call at the time. But, so they're not eavesdropping, but they are collecting that. That was still never the intent of it. And although the Amash Amendment failed, we will be revisiting this. I don't think Snowden is a hero by any stretch, but I think this debate is good to have. And here is another problem, that when has the government ever stayed in its lane? One of the key and pivotal pieces of evidence in the Trayvon Martin case was the phone call. What would keep a government from saying, "Hey, I know we got all these phone records, and this is a murder case, let's go after that"? It'll be one thing after the other, one really good excuse right now. So I strongly believe that this is a governmental Patriot Act overreach, and we need to get it back in its place. I know we're out of time. I want to say this. I plan to enthusiastically endorse whoever our nominee is. The Democrats now have a nominee. And I don't remember a time when I have seen more puffy articles and more gratuitous press for any candidate at all. I'll take that back. Maybe Hillary Clinton. We have a huge fight in front of us as a party to hold this seat. It's going to be difficult going through a 7-way primary without a lot of mudslinging and fighting and all that. But we've got to remember that the 7 of us, any time we spend on each other, that's less time we're going to have to spend. We'll be able to spend on Harry Reid, Obama, and the Pelosi machine. And we got to stick together. So,